Hey, I'm on my lunch break right now, and I wanted to take a few moments to just talk about a few things that I had thought about recently, um, which deal with a smaller issue regarding Star Wars, is kind of the jumping off point here, but deal with something that I'd like to start a discussion on from a larger standpoint. And this has to do with our modern, like I said, starts with Star Wars, but it's dealing with our kind of our postmodern uh, value around strength as the ultimate virtue. And I'll explain what I mean in just a second as I go on from that. So, one of my friends just recently shared an article and was about J.J. Abrams discussing Episode 7 once again and some of the concepts and thoughts that he had had as went back and talking about it. Now, you all might remember from my own review of Episode 7 if you watched it. If you didn't, go watch it and click on the ad and give me money. Um, but where I said that, and it was this friend who shared the article who actually had initially made this argument and brought it to my attention, which was that Rey in the end of Episode 7, when she's about ready to fight Kylo Ren, spoilers for a year-old movie which the entire planet has seen at this point, FYI. She's getting ready to fight Kylo. He just trashed Finn. He's swinging his sword around. He's awesome. He's cool. He's beating up, pushing back Rey. She falls back, and then all of a sudden, she like closes her eyes, has that moment. The music swells. She jumps up and she beats him back, and is about ready to kill him when a highly convenient chasm opens in the ground and saves Kylo so that he can come back and trouble the heroes another day, and etc. etc. On some levels, awesome. Well done. The fight scene was very good. I'm not here to criticize that. I'm not here to even criticize the convenient chasm opening up to save Kylo from his imminent demise, because it's a movie. It's a high fantasy adventure movie, space opera. So you deal with it. That's not that part doesn't bother me. What does bother me, and I mentioned it then, and like I said, this is my friend Daniel Noah is the one who initially kind of put this seed in my mind with his initial review of the movie, um, and and it's kind of grown on me. And as more stuff has come out, I've thought about it more, and it's kind of not bothered me, but it's become illuminating about a certain fact to me. So the music swells right at this point as Rey, like I said, she's been beaten back and her friends died, and she jumps up and then is striking back and blah 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 and aggressively pushing forward. And as I said in my review, and as Daniel had pointed out, if you step back and you look at it without music and when you describe it, you suddenly realize you're describing somebody using the dark side of the Force in a very real sense, for aggression, revenge, self-will, coming forward. And what's interesting is the word that springs to my mind when I think about this, and it's being put forward as a positive thing, is empowerment. And that's a word that gets used a lot anymore, and it gets used in a very positive sense. And I think this is where we can see Star Wars reflecting modern identity culture as opposed to the mythos of Star Wars. But even aside from that, just an older sense of morality. What is, if I said, like, what are the two climactic points of A, the original trilogy, and B, episodes 1, 2, and 3? And they mirror each other in many ways and connect. And I'm not here to say that I actually think the prequel movies are great, because I'm on record as saying I don't think they're as bad as some people say, but I mean, some of them are clearly not good movies. And then in episodes 4, 5, and 6. Well, in episodes 1, 2, and 3, you have Anakin basically at the moment of his true awakening of his power, exertion of his own will, exertion of his own identity. He's chopped into little pieces and put into the Vader suit, because like that is the embracing of that power and that empowerment is wrong in the Star Wars mythos. For Luke, that philosophical, emotional high point is when he turns around and in a thing that wouldn't even make sense in a modern movie. Because think about this, regardless of whether it's a woman or a minority or a white straight male, whatever. Something that wouldn't make sense is Luke, at that emotional high point, his move is to intentionally depower himself. He turns off his lightsaber, throws it away, turns around, looks at the Emperor, and says, I'm a Jedi. I'm not going to kill my father. That is very interesting when contrasted with how JJ is talking about Rey and what she does in Episode 8. And this emotional, climactic, great, empowering moment for her character. Which, as I said, on a narrative level doesn't make sense within the Star Wars universe. And we could debate whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. And that's not actually my point here. The discussion I would like to see, and that I would like to have, is what does this say any more about morality within culture? Where, like I said, that move that Luke does doesn't even make sense to us. Or not to culture now. It just, that wouldn't be what you would do. It doesn't work that way, because it's about how do you identify, and your worth of a person as a person and your value as a person is solely contingent on how much of your will you can enforce. It sounds bad to say it that way, but that is essentially on its base philosophical level what we believe. That's why it's so important that we have, that women are empowered, or that, you know, the homosexual community is empowered, whatever. Empowerment is the word of the day. And it's why, for example, the lessening that we see of, well, the non-existent rights of infants, unborn children, etc., is directly related to the fact that they have no perceived modern personhood, because they can't exert will and they can't choose identity. I think we're going to see, and we're already starting to see, and I think we'll continue to see, a lessening of the value of elderly, as they can no longer effectively exert their will. We will continue to see them less and less as actual people. And this is where I'm sure some people would want to debate, and they're going to say I'm overreacting. But I think as we look at our art, and as we look at where we are sitting philosophically and where identity politics is taking us, that's the route I see it going. Your will and your value will directly correspond to how much you can actually exert that. Give you an example, Star Wars Episode 7, where the climactic moment is what would have always before been perceived of as a character turning to and falling into the dark side, is now put forward as a great thing, because that character is now empowered and is now pushing forward with her own will. And again, I know that's an oversimplification, perhaps some might say, of the overarching issue, but I think it's a good example of it. So I guess what I would say, just to finish this off, this is going to be a really short video, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on that, revisiting Star Wars as the new movie's coming out and thinking back as to the old one. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy Episode 7. I actually did like it, unlike some other people who might have issues with this as well. I just think tonally that definitely sets it apart, and it definitely changes this movie from the previous ones. And like I said, it does, I think, put forward that interesting thing where might has once again become right. Now, it doesn't mean swinging an axe into somebody's face like it might have meant 2,000 years ago, but I think the philosophical standpoint is still the same. Might and exertion of will and exertion of identity has in fact become what makes something moral or immoral. I would love to hear some discussion on that. I'd love to hear people tell me I'm wrong. I'd love to hear people tell me I'm right. I'd probably enjoy that more, because it would prop up my identity and my self-worth. Anyway, I hope to have some more videos out soon for you guys, but I just wanted to get that quick one out over my lunch break, which is getting really close to done. So thank you very much for watching.